So, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the last panel of day one, BUIDL Vietnam 2023, and I heard that besides the main track of the events, the workshops and hackathon is getting more attention from the participant who is interested in BUIDL Vietnam. So, for the last but not least panel discussion, the topic will be Web3 infrastructure and the story of onboarding the next billion users. So we'll get to listen to the discussion in answering some of the most important questions about whether Web3 infrastructure is ready for the mass adoption. So now please once again join me to welcome Andrew, VP of Sales and GM APAC from Block Demon. Welcome Phương Nguyễn, CTO from Renick Foundation. Welcome Thomas, founder of Nethermind. Welcome Matt, Tech and Product Leadership from Solana Foundation. And our moderator, please welcome KryptoSeoul from Chainbase.
Hey everyone, this is Chris from Chainbase. I just want to give you a brief introduction on our project, then head over to our panelist. Chainbase is the all-in-one data infra for Web3 that allow you to index, transform, and utilize on-chain data at scale via diverse methods we provide, including in predefined API, Circle Studio, and data sync. So by leveraging enriched on-chain data and streaming computing technologies across one data infra, we just automate indexing and querying of blockchain data, enabling developers to accomplish more with less effort. So today's topic is quite interesting for me, infra and billion users. When I think about the infra segments from the perspective of the overall industry, some key phrases come to my mind: lowering entry barrier, improving the production relations, and also providing a trustless trust network. So our panelists today have done lots of works on this front. So to start, I'd be honored to have each of you introduce yourself, the project and the company you're running now, especially the vision and the methodology behind. So head over to Matt.
Hello, I'm Matt, kind of head of technology at the Solana Foundation. So Solana is one of the main protocols that actually has two main clients. One is currently in development by Firedancer, and then there's Solana Labs, where their client is kind of like running what you see as Solana today, with a bunch of other core contributors like Jito, Mango, and a bunch of others. And so I kind of help facilitation of that layer, and then also kind of a lot of the validator tools, work with a lot of the people on this stage. And then like the ecosystem on top of that. So it's the other parts of infrastructure like on-ramps, off-ramps, wallets, all that stuff. My background is heavily in like all over the place, from hearing aids to games to everything. So that's why I kind of overseeing this very diverse ecosystem of that is Solana.
Hi everyone, I'm Thomas from Nethermind. Nethermind is a company that delivers protocol engineering infrastructure support for the major ecosystem. So we work a lot with Ethereum Foundation. We built a node implementations for Ethereum. Nethermind is one of the mainnet nodes. We build infrastructure for Starknet tooling. So thinking of the layer 2, layer 1 of the Ethereum system, and tooling, security, audits, and crypto research, and so on. So my own background, I started in technology and was building the early days, was involved in building the Ethereum client. Interesting journey. I see it more as a B2B journey for us. We want to help the other ecosystem players to do all of that heavy lifting to the users, towards the users. We want to connect lots of institutions and builders with the great technology and engineering. So that's the story. Great to see you all.
Thanks. Hello, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank APAC DAO and BUIDL Asia, for having us today. Right? It's a pleasure, to be able to talk at an event like that. I'm Phương. I'm from Renick Foundation. Right? We are basically a blockchain that it built with the intention that make it easy for people to enter and exit blockchain space, right? Technically, we want to solve the problem so that people will be able to get into the blockchain space without even going through the centralized chains. That means that we're more like a RAM for potentially other blockchains as well. Right now, people can use our blockchain, to enter and exist like Bitcoin and Ethereum in a decentralized way.
Hey everyone, Andrew here. I run APAC for a company called BlockDemon. We're the largest institutional blockchain infrastructure provider. We do three things. We focus on nodes, APIs, staking, and some security MPC. We're a multi-protocol, multi-chain. We do work with, Solana and a whole bunch of other folks as well. And yeah, also wanted to say thanks to the BUIDL Asia team and APAC DAO for having us here today.
Yeah, great. Let's dive into more specific questions on challenge and opportunities. So first of all, it seems like we're under the down market cycle with a lot of uncertainty ahead. So we're just curious about how would the infra companies to help the crypto to go mainstream these days, and what is the biggest unanswered questions? So we'll also start from Matt.
Yeah, wow. Well, it's kind of interesting. There's this kind of saying there's a lot of block space to go around right now. So it's like, that doesn't mean that infra isn't very valuable though. This is the time to kind of prepare and like kind of rethink things and move quickly where you don't have as much, fires burning or other things. Well, the fires are meta things. They're not like infrastructure isn't on fire as much, so you can really build and really think about the tooling. I think the other interesting thing is, I think on the platform level, kind of everybody kind of understands. You just want to be this, compute layer. You want to be, an operating system or whatever you want to call it. That's like a decently defined spec. But then everything around the consumer that you can help to build on top of it, that's really what we should be thinking about now. Like thinking back from a customer need, both like maybe a B to C play, or like how do you enable that business, or directly to the consumer, what is that consumer going to do to have a better interface with blockchain?
Yeah, I feel similar about the downturn times, or when on the infrastructure side you have a lot of work of reviewing, rebuilding things for those who go later to the users. So during all the bull market, hype markets, you have all the Web3 dApps, applications, user interfaces, and so on, and possibly like less innovation because I want to ship as fast as possible in the short time. And then very quietly, a lot of heavy lifting innovation happens during the downturn. So it's the best, most exciting time to build. And challenging in a way that obviously like funding doesn't come that easily on the projects. There's lots of uncertainty. And lots of those builders that are there are also getting demotivated, and you have to have this like push for leadership and make everyone believe that this is just a cycle and we build some amazing solutions. It's still exciting. I think now what's most promising is all the build around account abstraction in the Ethereum ecosystem. So the L2 work, the L2 is appearing and solving problems of scaling, but also answering the questions about the proper use of ZK technology. So all of that comes together. I think within a year or two, we'll start decentralizing those solutions. They will be fully operational. New wave of developers will be coming in. So it's good times. I mean, at least when you talk around, it definitely feels better than 2-3 years ago, which may mean that we're simply on the way down and it's a long way down. But still, for the builders, it's good. It's challenging. It's interesting.
Thanks. From a perspective, right, everything must start with the outcome in mind, right? I mean, technically, people will accept we're receiving our offering if it's in some way maybe different, but at least it needs to be better, right? Rather than what existing. I mean, right now, most of the problem that the blockchain technology is trying to solve is focusing around financial, and this is huge, right? We do have a traditional finance really huge. It's even larger than the economy itself, right? So the blockchain space needs to offering a way that is not just different, but must be better, right? And I think that from the perspective of infrastructure provider, the companies that building layer 1, layer 2, or GK technology, right? We need to make sure that our technologies enable the interface on top of that, would be better and not only different but better than the other technology. For instance, for ourselves, right? We look from the customer perspective and we think we ask our question. What happens if someone without any token, right? How can they enter the space? So that's why we starting adding something called gatless service into our infrastructure, and that's the way somehow the normal people will be able to get on the blockchain without need to go through maybe some centralized chain, right, to buy their first token. And I think we need more of that kind of stuff, right? Makes it even easier for people to get in the space without having them go around the hoops, right? Solving problems like KYC with a chain, or dealing with regulation on their own territory, for instance.
Yeah, so BlockDemon, we work with the largest crypto natives, so foundations, Coinbase, Crypto.com, et cetera, the largest digital sort of Web2 guys, PayPal, Revolut, and the largest traditional enterprises that we think are genuinely coming into this space, right? And we've got, so in that we include some of the investors we have, Citibank, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, et cetera, and tier 1 banks, et cetera. So what we're seeing at the moment, probably from our customer base, right, is there's just a bit of space for some of these other crypto adjacent or non-crypto native companies to take a moment and just think about what they're going to do. So if you talk about the traditional side, I think you can largely argue outside the US, their view is Bitcoin and ETH is through the gate, and that's serious, and they're thinking now about what's next. The digital native folks are trying to work out, usability and how do they take their users on this sort of crypto journey, and what's the world look like for them in this space. So I think this time is actually giving the non-crypto native folks some time to breathe, I think, and build their strategies as well. And some of them, they're much slower than crypto native. So they actually need a bit of time this time to actually think about where they want to be next year. Yeah.
Quite interesting. The next one I want to direct it to Matt and Thomas is about one of the hot topic in infra is about layer 1 and layer 2's battle. So Nevermind, I think, is the leading research and engineering company on Ethereum and StarNet. And Solana is the obvious phenomenon of layer 1. So what's your guys' view on the development of layer 1, layer 2, even layer 3, or the outer layer, for the impact on the whole industry and the impact on the progress of onboarding new developers?
I think at the fundamental level, the problem that Solana is trying to solve is like one of the valuable ones. Can you reach a decentralized, consensus around the transactions that should enter the block, censorship resistance, and that fast propagation and can scale in a shared state that's very performant, and that's not counter to there being L2s or there being other L1s. I think the risk is if you do all that separation too early, you'll fragment user bases, you'll have kind of disjoint functionality, and you'll continue to be more and more confusing over time. And a lot of the front ends will have to really solve those problems, and it'll make harder and harder on each incremental developer. So, but even more than that, like if you have any particular app scale, to what we all want to see, this like new internet. Those apps will, unless they want to start fragmenting themselves, you need that layer to scale. So we actually see a world where eventually SVM is part of like the ZK stack, where it is both the base layer as like an L1, but the SVM itself could be this, like replace the sequencer. Like if you have a really fast way of ordering blocks and you're trying to order for decentralized like ZK, you could potentially have some configuration there. So at the core level, we're just kind of solving that problem. Like there's not that many people, not that many entities that are really solving that core issue of can you reach really fast finality around the world as fast as the speed of light will allow.
Yeah, so that's the matter of architecture. We call it L1, L2 on Ethereum. You can have different approach and name it differently somewhere else. So, and even like comparing this is L1, this is L2, it starts to lose the meaning when you compare it to the actual technology that's delivered there on the actual innovative solutions that are on those chains. So Solana brings a lot of innovative ideas that Ethereum developers are following and looking at. So how do you solve the parallel execution? How do you get the speed levels when you try to be decentralized? And the same, the L2s that are on Ethereum. Think about the Starknet that I'm so close to. This is groundbreaking with the solution of Starks and the provable computation where it can execute really, really amazing amount of complex calculations for gaming, for AI, which would be hot topic. Like I think that this year we started saying among the builders that is the first time when we say AI and blockchain, in a way we're not laughing and this is just a sales thing. It's you start to say, hey, there'll be some applications like the blockchain will be for supporting like providing the truth, the history, the information for the AI solution. So the innovation is there on each of those layers separately, and how they are connected is some part of the consensus building and bridging, whether you bridge it or construct it into layers. It's maybe for me less important. We just say that L2s are the scaling solutions for Ethereum. We bring data availability solutions for that, but you may go other ways. You may look for innovation with Cosmos ecosystem, with Solana, probably with other builders. We hear about Near building some UX developments. So this is what matters. Maybe not exactly the architecture, although for me at heart, the architecture is probably one of the most exciting components, but less for the users. So it's all great to look at. It's worth to look at and compare and learn.
So care more about the value they create for end user and the interface they create, right? Another question is for Andrew and Fang, and it's about APAC market, because you guys have lots of focus here. Because recently the SEC has been going after the big crypto exchange. So what are gonna impact the APAC market? Does it gonna just transfer the developer, builders, or your clients from the US to even Europe or the APAC?
Thank you for the question. So for my perspective alone, right? I mean, we've been doing exclusively on Asia markets and also African market. But when talking about APAC market, I think that's even for a while, right? It's much more, the economy much more, how do you say? It's more energetic, right, and enthusiastic when talking about crypto adoption. I think I don't know whether it's after the SEC climbing recently or it's been long before, but like the most active crypto market is never the US itself, right? I mean, maybe they have more money, but talking in terms of the number of people actually, participating in space, Asia, or even Africa, they are leading ahead. So yes, I mean, even with or without the climbing of SEC, I mean, we still need to focus on the APAC market, and as well for our situation, right? We also think Africa, right? It's a very important market, and I think they will be, the major, how to say, the major force of innovation and adoption of crypto for the time coming ahead.
Yeah, I'll give a couple of thoughts and perspectives. So I think firstly, Blockdaemon is headquartered in the US, but we don't run any staking operations, or we don't have any nexus of capability for staking in the US. And we've had the largest institutions, the largest funds kind of run their DD on us and come to the same conclusion as well. So I think it's not as easy as just flicking like, hey, I'll open a company in another country and boom. It's like companies aren't silly. Like, where's the engineers? Where's the validators? Where's the product team? Like, that's what, like, you know, moving country means. You have to move everything, right? So, like, we run all of our staking capability out of Europe, and we always have, right? So I think, you know, that we've been really fortunate in that case, right? So I think that's one thing. I think, you know, and we were talking about it before, I'm like 5-6 weeks on a kind of back-to-back kind of tour. You know, if I talk now about the market, I think I've just spent a couple of weeks in Australia, and Australia's historically had a very close relationship with the US, so you can kind of see quite a bit of similar thinking in Australia. It's kind of talking a lot to the US, and you know, a lot of commonality on what are we doing? Are we pausing? Let's, you know, this. And then as I move around, kind of Hong Kong, Korea, kind of Japan, it's like, yeah, the US is important. Let's keep an eye on what they're doing, but we're doing what we want to do for our country and our market. Like, that's important. Let's keep an eyeball on it, but like, it's less impactful. Yeah, so I think probably that's really interesting for me to see as well. And then I just think, you know, to your point, like, you know, so much economic activity comes from population growth, kind of markets and movement, right? And you know, so now it's pretty easy to debate, you know, where the big markets are, where's the big population growth now and in the future. So that's definitely Asia, and to your point, you know, looking into Africa and these other markets as well. Like, so I think, you know, there's the sort of block demon answer. I think there's a market answer, and there's just like a, you know, geographical macro kind of answer in there as well.
Yeah, quite interesting, because on my point of view, I'm tired to talk about the mass adoption or bring people or onboarding people to Web3, because the reason why we're here to talk about is that we're under the valuable network. So instead of talking about the mass adoption, but we need to talk about bringing technology or bringing the blockchain to the people. I think this is also the slogan on Solana's website, right? Actually, I'm a big fan of Solana, I'm sorry. And so the next two questions, I want to talk about the scalable and how to serve the scalable clients. So first question is for Solana and Renik. I think you guys all work about the scalable network. So what is the key challenge to make a network be scalable and perform, but also accessible for the massive people?
So I think one of the things to kind of demystify here, Solana is kind of just really, really good network and firmware kind of engineering. There's a blog about it for a while ago. It started off with 8 core technologies, and there's been about 14 major updates since. It's just, you know, all parts of the stack that there could be some sort of bottleneck. It's just, yeah, it's you know, how do you get the most efficient paradigm possible? And you even have the second validator client FireDancer. They're rewriting network communication and data compression that is like hyper optimized. So this has nothing to do with trilemma. It has nothing to do with anything like that. It's just good engineering. There's been a little bit made about obviously like the amount of hardware it requires to run Solana, but there's actually other protocols like Binance that actually require more of that. But that is another concentration, is making sure that you both keep that low enough you can maintain decentralization, and also have light clients, so that as you know the network scales and you get these more and more people involved, they also have the assurances even if they're not necessarily running a full node. And so yeah, I think there's just like that core engineering part of it, and then also utilizing the learnings from like other great protocols, like how are they using ZK? How does it fit in with you know, our paradigm of compute? You see that a little bit on Solana with we have 2 ZK protocols one's called Elusive and one's called Light, where you can kind of batch and like, you know, and submit to the L1 directly. It's not necessarily an L2. It's just a way of doing different things. So I think for us, it's like giving configurations for app builders to build stuff that solves a user problem. So like my goal in this bear is that in some not very long period of time, just product managers at insert company here thinks, okay, I need to send text messages, here's Twilio. I need to send emails, here's MailChimp. I need to solve some, payments problem or some, like loyalty problem or something like this. Insert some, a Solana blockchain stack here. It just natural. That's when you really start getting real adoption and real use cases of people consuming, and it's not speculation based. It's not whatever. It's setting up your ecosystem for things that consumers just want to enjoy.
So thanks for the great question. From my perspective, as I used to be a technical guy, right? I mean, I've been programming for like more than 20 years. So looking at the perspective of technology, I mean, it's super. It's super ready to serve billions of people. I mean, there's really no barrier in the technologies these days that prevent a blockchain or any technology from serving billions of people. Because we all know about horizontal scaling. I mean, you want more power, you should add more machine, right? And the machine is cheap, storage is cheap. CPU computational power is cheap. Network is getting faster and faster, and with all the innovation happening in the space, zero knowledge sharding, zero knowledge proof, right? And sharding, all kind of this make it super possible, even for layer 1 blockchain to perform like million transactions per second. Actually, there recent introduction of new blockchain that is, they have they claim to achieve that kind of throughput. So I think technologically, I don't think there are barrier, to serving the billion of people. The problem is getting that billion of people to actually use your blockchain, so you can, and in a speed that you can adapt your technology to. For instance, from my perspective, right, also we do have an initial version of our blockchain. But I don't think that if it happened to be us, we won't be sticking with just one single technology. If new technology come, because everything is open source nowadays, and if a better technology come along, and we see that we will be able to meet our customer the demand of the network in the next 2 or 3 years, we will start upgrade our network following. Maybe we do something like Binance did in the past, right? First, they launched a very, simple blockchain based on Cosmos Tendermint. But then they find, they see a need of smart contract on the platform, right? So they start, forking out the project and launch Binance Smart Chain. And I think that should be the approach that every blockchain should be taking, instead of, like Bitcoin, right? I understand that perspective. You want to build the most stable and reliable network on the internet, right? But by doing so, they are hindering, Bitcoin owner from being able to use that old token for a lot of possible utility. So I don't think that if we happen to run a blockchain, we won't follow that path. Instead, if new technology come along, we're more eager than not to replace the existing technology. Find every way possible, replace it. Make sure there are no bottleneck in the technology.
Great. The next one I want direct to Andrew and Thomas is regarding to the institutional client, because I know BlockDemon work with a lot of the institutional clients, and also the Andrew service a lot of the institutional clients to engineer issues. So what is the key worry for them to get into Web3 and to allocate asset or the resources to Web3?
Yeah, so at Nethermind, in collaboration with WebAn, we launched TwinStake last year. So we're working a lot with institutional clients, traditional finance clients. Well, WebAn has that history of many, many years, tens of years of experience of working with the largest institutions in the space. And my assessment is that, well, when you talk to the retail users, there are lots of flashy things, exploration, running forward, enjoying the time is important. Like, that's how we innovate and we bring excitement. For the institutions, it's stability, it's predictability, it's working with the partners that you understand how you can work with them long term, that they actually have the same alignment about being safe, put security first, protect your base, like protect your notional, and allow you to bring some yield. To have the conversation level where institutions say that you understand their needs, that you ask about it, that you act clearly as you're delivering the top service, top product, and the institution is telling you exactly where the barriers are, how far they can go, what they have to check, and you don't try to push those barriers. You show the explorations, you show the opportunity. Like, when I think about now working with restaking on Ethereum with EigenLayer, we show that as an opportunity. We'll tell institutions, hey, TwinStack will work on this, we'll present it. There will be restaking, but here are the risks, and in many cases, you will not be ready to take those risks, but we get you covered. And these levels of conversations is what matters for institutions. They know that you will not try to avoid KYC, will not commingle the assets, that you will have a proper sales conversation and then the customer success conversation, and this will be a very long-term collaboration. We'll be delivering the highest quality understanding of everything underneath. So that's how I see Nethermind was building for many years that expertise of understanding Ethereum, the blockchain, so it can actually build the offering for institutions later with partners that brings that the builder level understanding of the blockchain, but with the product level of institutional focus. Now we just wrap it with all the services that institutions need. So I think that's what matters. And that's how we bring institutions to the blockchain, by telling them this is not the Wild West that you're coming to, or Wild East, or whatever we call it. It's a product for you built on years of experience of experimenting.
Yeah, I'll give another dimension to the answer, but I also agree with Thomas here. There's like that institutional ongoing kind of, service management and bar that you need to hit. I think the other bit with institutions, let's take a staking example. So, we offer like 36 different protocols for staking: Solana, Near, DOT, Matic, ETH, etc., right? So, you talk to an institution, they're like, I want to do this, I want to do this. And so once conviction is built, then you hit this non-crypto native institutional hurdle before you get back to them staking. So what do I mean by that? In there, like, we KYB every single customer. So we're non-retail, we're B2B institutional only. So, KYB is the insto version of KYC, okay? So there's KYB, there's paperwork, we've got to commit to SLAs, there's a pretty non-crypto big master services agreement with all the words and nomenclature, just in case some non-crypto person in the institution's got to read what is the product, So we have in that hurdle rate, we've got a lot of paperwork, documentation, aligning kind of risk. We go through a really due diligence, secure data transfer packet of our insurance for staking, audit and compliance. What does our board look like? They ask all these questions. So now we just kind of go, right, here's the data pack. Like, after an NDA, here you go. So with the institutions we deal with, there's this hurdle rate. And then once you give them all that information, then they've got the confidence and they already had the conviction to move forward. And then they can stake really large amounts. So it's not uncommon for us. Let's take an ETH example. It's not uncommon for us, for an institution to go, hey, Andrew, give me 3,000 ETH validators, right? Like just one hit, So, but there is this hurdle rate that doesn't look very crypto native before you get to like the staking from an institution. Yeah,
good point. I think we have 7 minutes left, so we just have 2 more general questions for all of you. And I think the first one is, developer is the community that cannot be ignored when we're in the Web3. And I heard about that Vietnam have the largest number of affordable developer around Southeast Asia. So do you guys have any toolkit or program for developers, no matter in Southeast Asia or everyone around the world?
Yeah, so the blockchain itself doesn't really do like IP, but there's traditional Web2 stuff like Web3.js, like those packages and stuff that you can kind of track. And yeah, you're very right. The community here is very vibrant and doing some really amazing things. For Solana specifically, we have what's called Super Team, and there's different entities around the world, and the Super Team Vietnam is very strong. Happy to introduce you if you're interested. They do a bunch of university engagement, hackathons, kind of like workshops, and yeah, just really fun stuff is coming out of that. And like we're kind of ideating what's next for each of those. And they try to hit all the builders, so people who want really on chain stuff, to people who want to build interfaces to the chain, so like dApps and all that stuff. So it's really diverse and vibrant ecosystem here.
So Vietnam and the whole Southeast Asia, or even Southeast Asia, Northeast Asia, this is a set of amazing markets, and I think that is clearly on the path for Ethereum. Ethereum is coming to Southeast Asia with DevCon next year, so this is the largest event in Ethereum that happens annually. Actually, it will be skipped this year, but it means that next year will be even bigger. And well, that event itself may have a potential of bringing few thousand new builders to the ecosystem. Starknet now with Cairo One, the ability to deploy, is putting a lot of effort into showing the technology in Korea and Vietnam now, and organizing lots of events across Southeast Asian countries. They like even also at Flashbots, we've been talking a lot about geographic decentralization, as like you have financial systems, and historically they would always be London, New York, Singapore, so sure they go around the clock, but you would like to start enabling Global South. You would start to create games that are talking about it's not about latency, it's about enabling everyone to connect to the financial system that's distributing more fairly. So for sure we are open to support like builders, searchers to launch in very unusual locations. There is a program now from Ethereum Foundation to run nodes in as remote locations as possible. Leo from Flashbots is running some program for running nodes from distant places in Costa Rica, and talking about this redistribution issues of like, is it just redistribution within blockchain, but also geographically around the world, of finally enabling, talking a bit more specifically about how we solve those problems that are very often used just in the marketing talk of like, let's enable agriculture in Africa and so on. But how do you really start connecting that from the serious solutions for financial markets to be closer and closer and closer by really thinking of how our technology operates, like where the latency bottlenecks are, how you build a network that is more robust. Solving it on the infrastructure level as the beginning, and then in Vietnam, the number of developers that are building amazing things that are ready to build, to join, to launch these networks. Definitely fantastic place, and I have super high hopes and expectations, like how much the ecosystem will grow here.
So I'm Vietnamese guy, so my answer may be a little bit biased, right? But I've been coming into contact with a lot of people from different backgrounds, from different continents, and I would say that Vietnamese engineers are among the best. I mean, they are hardworking, they're smart, and they are very dedicated into the job being assigned to them. Besides other thing being affordable, right? For some reason, with the same amount of engineering, you would need to pay maybe double, triple elsewhere compared to what you would in Vietnam. And another thing that I think would put into consideration is that before maybe a few years ago, right, the gap between developers really matters based on their experience, their knowledge, the people they've been hanging with. But recently, with the introduction of maybe ChatGPT, right, and other soon to follow, AI tools that are on the same level, right? I think that is actually narrowing down the gap. So I definitely think Vietnam with the the availability of AIs would become a very exciting hub for innovation, not only in the blockchain space but across a lot of technology spectrum. I think so.
Yeah, so I've been coming to Vietnam for work, for business, for about 12 years now. We're talking about this outside. This is the third company I'm at where I've been doing business in Vietnam. And I need to say, I just love Vietnamese can-do attitude, right? It's just awesome. And then I think when you compound that with what you're saying on like skill set, you know, hardworking, you know, you get an engineering team that wants to move forward. It doesn't have a lot of gravity pulling it down. It's moving. So I think that's really exciting. I think it's exciting for the country to get things built, but I also think it's a great brand, like for Vietnam globally as well. So I've got some friends who've got founders, and they're in like Indonesia, Australia, all over the world, and I've got dev shops in Vietnam, whether that's crypto, blockchain, Web2, you know. So I think that's just a fantastic thing for Vietnam as well. And then I think, you know, I'm really excited to see what can be built out of Vietnam. We've seen some success with some projects already, and I'm really excited. And, you know, I've got, you know, high expectations for what comes next out of Vietnam as well. Yep.
Cool. I think the very last question to end up our panel. Could you guys just share about next milestone or exciting news on your project or your company that you want our audience to know?
I guess the most recent is the entire Helium blockchain migrated to Solana a couple months ago. So there's a lot of really interesting new tools there around, you know, geolocation proving and stuff. I guess the next things to be looking at are the second validator client is going to roll out the networking layer later this year. So just like some pretty crazy cool technologies coming to blockchain. Yeah.
For me, the next most important milestone will be decentralization of L2s on Ethereum. So practically enabling together all this plan of the scaling of Ethereum, of decentralizing Starknet, decentralizing all the other stacks, and making them work together, unisono, build, deliver what they promised, and connect all of this innovation in the space. And it brings the PBS, MEV on multiple chains, it brings L2s and L1s together. So probably the next 1 or 2 years, somewhere there, we'll suddenly see something that's so much stronger than now.
So from our side, you know, we position ourselves as the blockchain that allow people to maybe on-ramp into other blockchain. So we are recently launching our, you know, wrap token for Ethereum and Bitcoin. And we are very, you know, eager if, you know, there is other blockchain that think that they may want to wrap on our system and, you know, allow the user to come into their blockchain without going through, you know, a centralized chain.
I'm going to squeeze in 2 answers quickly. Number one, we've recently launched our institutional wallet. And so this is a wallet really designed for more traditional institutions coming into this space. So what it offers for them is a way to think about custody, the way they think about traditional fiat custody. And that hasn't really, a wallet like that hasn't really existed. So what does that mean? Like a bank can go, well, I do custody of my cash this way, so maybe I want my key here, my key here, my key here, my key there. I don't want anyone ever to have part of my key, like ever. Like, so I think that's really exciting for us. That's the B2B version of what people have been building to onboard the next billion users on the B2C side, this usability, you know, getting rid of complexity. So we've tried to tackle that for the very large enterprise. So we're really excited about that. Then the other thing institutions have told us is, hey, Blockdaemon, you're super powerful, like super flexible, very granular, but it'd be good to have a bit more of that retail usability, right, on the B2B side as well. So, you know, we've been rolling out usability capabilities, technologies like partnering with Wallet Connect, because we've got institutions that have got, you know, all the popular tokens in custody, you know, MPC, multi-sig, and they wanted an easier way to do staking and staking orchestration with a graphical user interface. So those are probably the 2 things that, you know, I'm really, really excited about. We're giving people that understand traditional custody a way to think about digital asset custody in a way that's more aligned to the way their SOPs and their current brains work, and then also giving them a bit more usability depending on, the way, they've got their wallet and their custody stack set up as well, specifically for staking.
Great. I think we're done today, and thanks everyone for sharing your insights and knowledge, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. All right.
Once again, thank you, Chris, Matt, Thomas, and Phương, and Andrew for joining with BUIDL Vietnam 2023. So ladies and gentlemen, that is also the last panel of today, first day of BUIDL Vietnam. Thank you for staying with us, and see you tomorrow. Have a good day.